Leah,
Hmm.
the equinox is upon us.
What date is that?
March 20th, I think.
Interesting. I don't even really know what an equinox is.
I don't either, but you're the one that wanted to do this episode around that time. So
Okay.
we're
Well,
doing it.
speaking of this episode, what are we talking about today?
I'm Lamont,
And I'm Leah,
and you're tuning into the
the Lamont
Lamont
and
and
Leah
Leah podcast.
podcast.
Today we are exploring the so-called paranormal and psychic realm.
Interesting. I'm assuming we have a guest.
We do have a
Okay.
guest. Our guest today is a past life tarot reader, Nicki Ojeda.
All right. Well, let's go get them.
All right, let's go get them. Welcome, Nicki, and thank you for joining us on the Lamont and Leah podcast.
Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. We take a moment to introduce yourself to our listener and viewer audience.
Okay, my name's Nicki Ojeda. In certain circles, I go by Tarot with Tatiara. That's my business, Tarot with Tatiara. So I've been a past life and tarot reader for 35 years, and I tap into those energies to create custom essential oil blends and flower essences for people. And I also do one-on-one energy mentoring archetypal embodiment workshops, which is a pretty out there topic to try to delineate, but it's like a moving meditational shamanic journey where we make the energetic adjustments shown in the reading to empower the querent. That is the one asking for the reading.
All right. All right. That's very interesting. So, to celebrate the upcoming equinox, I wanted to explore the psychic realm. So, I and Leah grew up Christian, Seventh-day Adventists, and we were told, don't dive into psychicism or paranormal stuff, or it's bad for you. Pretty much you're gonna go to hell, kind of thing, right? So I
Mhm.
have a lot of I had a lot of fear, like even like talking about this stuff. It was cool to watch it in movies or whatever, but like kind of like, oh, it's not real. But as I've been walking through life, I've been wondering that there might be something to this paranormal psychic stuff, right? Are either of you guys familiar with the concept one mountain, the Hindu concept, one mountain, many paths?
Yes, I love it. In fact, I have a tattoo that's very similar to that. I have all these different religious symbols in a vine around my ankle before that coexist logo even came out.
Hmm.
I'm
Okay.
old.
Okay. All right. Cool. 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 Cool.
Yeah, I think I heard about it before.
Yeah, so my mindset's kind of like that. Like I know I've been taught one thing from my Christian upbringing, but as I walk through life, I'm noticing like it's just not one way. Like there's several ways to show up in this world, to understand this world and move through and translate this world. And I've come to wonder if psychic abilities are one of the several ways to help us understand that world.
Absolutely. And first off, I also have a Christian upbringing. And, it was the more toxic variety, which right away I will say they're not all that terrible. It's more like how it's used and the structures of the family. But regarding psychic ability, I believe that we all have it dormantly, but certain of us will have a proclivity for it, just like someone has a proclivity for athletics or music. But if that person's never exposed to, say, a piano or a basketball, they'll never, the circumstances won't afford that talent to be developed. So I was eventually surrounded by people who was a godsend, thank you, for me to meet, because it's like, okay, these other people have these experiences, and it's not just me, i.e., I'm not crazy. And which brings me to the point that 99% of who we are is unseen. And we name these energies, and we can work with them with love, or we can work with them with fear. And that's really what it boils down to.
I love that. I love that. So, Nikki, you said that you really don't call yourself a psychic.
Well, I am psychic, but I just don't lead with that. I'm an intuitive spiritual counselor. I seek to use my wounds to help others, the archetype of the wounded healer. I help others help themselves. I'm very all about empowering my clients. I don't like to foster dependencies, and I don't like to, just sort of feed into a victim mentality. But of course, we acknowledge where that is a thing, and then try to replace the archetype of the victim with the inner champion or the sacred warrior, and turn that into, okay, what's the difference between being triggered and being like triggered for the good? It's like a process, though. I don't ever mean to suggest that anything's easy. It's like a path of making a better relationship with your experiences, your past, your identity, everything, really.
Do you avoid the word psychic because of the stigma that it has?
I don't avoid it. I just don't
Okay.
lead with it. I am psychic. I'll say that
Yeah.
right now. I've known it. I had my first past life memory at age 5 when King Tut was on the cover of National Geographic. And I recalled being in Egypt and was very distraught at how broken and not things were. I don't remember the exact, but I remember the emotion, the feeling like, okay, I wasn't always a kid. And it sort of changed me then. That was my first one. So,
Interesting.
and plenty of other things, but yeah, I am psychic, but I just, I don't try to say I can read your mind right now, or I know exactly what's going to happen, but I can feel into the trajectories and offer energetic checks and balances so that you can make the adjustments that can be made. Some can't, to, bring the desired outcome to a potentially difficult situation, or at least provide insight and empowerment. And just more consciousness to the whole thing. But I can't give you lottery numbers. Sorry.
So when people think or like talk about psychics, what do you think that they're referring to in particular? Since you brought up lottery numbers.
Right. Well, there's a lot of riffraff out there in this lane. What can I say? It's just the way it is. But you can find that in any subgrouping, really.
Yeah.
But I would suggest, please be very careful when you're in an invulnerable place of just handing over your well-being to someone like that. If you're going to get a reading, make sure the person has testimonials and is on the up and up, and listen right here. Does it feel right or not? Because of course there are people who will do anything for just the wrong reasons, or, a mixed up reason like money or power, or, all the usual suspects. So psychics are definitely lumped in with that because it's a lot more easy to do, I guess you could say, is to take advantage of that trust, which is sad.
Yeah, I agree. So, when my friends think of psychics, they think of like people who are telepathic or clairvoyant or perform acts of psychosis. Is it psychosis, or how do you say that word, Leah?
I don't know what you're
Psychokinesis, perhaps?
psychokinesis.
Yeah, or teleportation.
Wow. Maybe next life I'll get there, but no, I'm definitely what we call clairsentient, claircognizant. I'm aware and I know things, and sometimes I'm clairaudient, like I'll hear it. And when I'm doing past life, it is clairvoyant, like I see it. Now, there aren't always certain things that can happen on, demand, as far as some of the other clairs, they just happen sometimes, like I don't call myself a medium, but I've had several, as far as the type of medium that talks to spirits of the dead. But when I'm doing past life readings, it has come forth, because I don't believe all spirits of all dead are available. I just, it's very strange because it's beyond time and space. Like if you think of it, the more we get bigger and outward, this is all happening at once, boom. And there's an element of, I don't know if it's collective consciousness. I allow a lot to be a mystery. I don't claim to know how, but I do know that sometimes we can see ahead or behind or see patterns. But I do feel like there's lots of abilities that we can all develop, but our society tamps it down, even just the most innocuous deja vu. It's the immediate thing is to brush it off rather than see synchronicities, which are beyond coincidence.
All right, all right. So would you be willing to do a reading for myself or Leia?
Sure. I for podcasts, I do like a little mini 3-card reading, which is just
Uh-huh.
like that's my doorway in. And we'll tap into that. And who am I going to do this for? Because that's what I need to know.
Leo, do you want to go? Because I'm convinced in a past life that I was Cleopatra, Queen of the Nile, and Queen Antoinette. So
my
I'm
goodness,
pretty, I'm pretty
Lamont.
sure. I'm pretty sure.
That's why your eyes are so pretty. I make a joke like, so I was a semi-famous person-ish. Not that, and it does happen, but most of us were farmers rather than princesses, but I will never say no. But anyway, sometimes I wonder, I don't know how the nature of the soul works in the end. Like, do we all become one in the end that we were both Cleopatra? I mean, who knows? It's really mysterious,
Maybe.
and I don't claim to have it.
Yeah,
Okay.
for sure.
So,
But yeah.
this is what I would like us to do is to just sort of think of all your concerns of the day and just put them over there and we'll pick them back up later. Okay. Just we're here now.
All
The
right.
past and future are just kind of off the radar right now. Okay. We'll just take 3 deep breaths and just sort of focus here and think of an area where you would like insight. It doesn't have to be too specific, but at least a little window beyond just infiniteness that I can maybe tap into. And take those 3 deep breaths with focus. And what I will ask you to do is I'm going to run my hands over the cards that are fanned out. And I'll ask you to tell me when to stop 3 times. Okay. And then as you're doing that, sort of feel into where insight would help you most.
Okay.
Even if you don't really know what it is, you can just sort of inquire with yourself, where would it be great to know something? Okay. And I'm going to start now. You tell me when to stop. Ready? Now.
Okay. Stop.
One more time.
Stop.
And final time.
Stop.
Mhm. I don't want to know anything at first about what you want to know about, but you can tell me momentarily.
Okay.
Give me just a second here.
Yeah.
I do see that there's a certain type of thinking or way of thinking that it's going to require you to make a decision and cut something out. It's just think of the word decide. It has side in it. It has like you're going to murder a choice so that another choice can live. So think of that. You're going to take that sword and just cut out something that does not serve. And then you're going to have to be very comfortable with feeling like a beginner on a certain path that has an emotional pull to you, like in the heart center. Like, I don't know if it's a relationship or the beginning of an emotional collaboration or attachment. It doesn't necessarily have to be a romantic relationship, but it could be. But it's definitely something where you might not know what's going to happen, and you have to feel a little more comfortable with the unknown in an emotional realm or not knowing what's up. And then you're going to have to actually, the more art you can do, the better. And if there's any way you can do some art, it's going to be a boon to you, your life and your world and your empowerment. It'll make those other things clear. And so if you have limiting thoughts about your artistic ability, they got to go. If you're worried about I suck or being a beginner, it's just part of it. Be cute, be sweet to your cute little self. You're just like this little human doing this thing. You gotta love it and be kind to your inner world and your self-talk when it comes to your art or creativity. That's what I got.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And if you would like to ask me a little clarifying question or anything, I can peek into that if you'd like. You don't have to.
No, I mean, it's always so. I'm on TikTok a lot. I talk about TikTok. I think we're talking about TikTok later in this episode. And So there'll be like videos that come up on my feed that like, if this came on your For You page, this is for you. And it's always creepy how those kind of like pertain a little bit to stuff that I'm going through. But the algorithm is all knowing. So I believe that.
Isn't it though?
Yeah. So I'm having that same situation right now.
I got an algorithm up here going.
Yeah, exactly. Can I share? Should I share? Do I not want to share?
If it feels
Okay.
comfortable for
Please
you.
share.
Yeah, so first of all, it's very, very interesting that you brought up artwork because I have been getting into art again, and I am on a journey to make 100 art pieces, and I'm about 30 in. And yeah, I'll drop my art Instagram at the bottom of this description this week if you guys want to check it out.
I'll check it out. Stay with that. Send it some love right now.
And it is very cute, which is funny that you said that you chose the word cute when you were describing things. Like I'm going very cute with everything. So first of all, that's very interesting. Second of all, when you brought up relationship and then pointed out it doesn't have to be romantic, that is exactly what I'm going through. Like friendships and like few people that I'm considering kind of just like cutting ties with because of stuff. So very interesting.
Yeah,
and
I feel now that I also should have said the word intuition, because you're going to get like some little hits like trust those, where it's like if you're not 100% sure if someone's on your side, they might not even be conscious or malicious. Just, when someone starts to shine, some people, it sheds light on whether or not they're shining. They might not be comfortable or being ready to shine, but you can't let that keep you from shining. Your intuition hits are going to probably increase the more you do your art and the more you send it love and allow it to be at whatever state it is. So that's like the intuition was the one word I didn't say that I kind of didn't follow my intuition to say. Bless my heart. So, right.
Thank you very much.
Hey,
Lamont, how do you feel about this? I know you were nervous.
I was nervous. The art piece I knew, I wasn't sure like if she was talking about a decision between your really, really personal, like what's going on. Like you disclosed a little bit on the show, but again, I want to leave all those kinds of disclosure up to you. So that situation or a friendship situation. So it seems like you're taking the friendship route, and so you should definitely go with that.
Very cool.
Yeah, just a little reminder. It said you might not know exactly what's going to happen with a certain thing, and that's when your intuition, you're just going to have to trust, what it's going to show you what has to be cut out if you allow it. Sometimes that might be a little bit of a process because we're always looking outside of ourselves for the answer, and you might be called to just look in a little bit more and tap it into your creativity will only strengthen that, so yeah, keep on.
Thank you very much.
That was very cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Lamont, did you have any other things that you wanted to ask before we take our not mandatory but mandatory water break?
Let's go ahead and take our break, and then we'll jump back talking about why do people seek out services, things that they should look for when they have like, and then if they're on the psychic path, like things that they should look for and how they can develop those abilities.
Sweet. All right, let's go take our break. Lamont, what side of TikTok are you on? Do you know?
What do you mean?
So, for those of you who do not have TikTok, and apparently Lamont, the algorithm, the almighty algorithm, kind of separates people into. I guess the algorithm doesn't do it. We do it. The algorithm feeds you things that you're interested in, right? So if you like a video that's about bears, right? It's gonna be like, okay, this person likes bears. Let me go ahead and put more bears on their news feed. Like, what's related to bears? Mountains. Like, okay, does this person like mountains? And you don't like any videos about mountains. Like, okay, not into mountains, right? So it starts to kind of like hone in on to the different types of things you like. So people have noticed this, and there are now sides of TikTok. So I personally am on the Polynesian, LGBT, and what's the other one that I recently got? DIY TikTok. Like those are the three sides of TikTok that I'm on right now. What are
I feel like I get a collab of all of that. So
yeah.
I definitely get LGBT stuff. I definitely get baking or cooking kinds of
Mm-hmm.
things, fix it or do it your own self kind of things. Um I get black culture
Mm-hmm.
things. Um yeah, so I feel like I get a variety. I get a lot of empowerment and mental
Mhm.
health stuff as well.
Yeah. So those are the sides of TikTok you're on. Ooh, also I started getting a lot of ADHD and neurodivergent stuff because I'm questioning, but that's a different topic. Um, so today I figured let's go take just a quick little swipey swipe on my TikTok and let's react to
Ooh,
some videos, right? I don't know
let's
what's
do it.
gonna be on here, so
Let's do it.
heads up, guys, heads up.
So I just found out that I've been in a relationship for the last 6 months. Yeah, I had no idea. If you've been following my drama
How's that
all along,
happen?
then you know I had a summer romance and it was really nice and everything was awesome and it was very healing and wonderful.
Okay.
But it didn't last, or so I thought.
Okay.
He had said that he never really wanted to be a parent and that he wasn't really interested in a relationship after his past experiences, and I thought we were
Valid.
just friends. The last month and a half, I've been having like a really hard time, and I've kind of been pushing him away. I've been refusing to talk on the phone. And basically he'll text me like, "How are you?" And I'm like, "Really bad." And he would send me pictures like, "Oh, I cleaned out the shed," or whatever, something he did around the house or around the yard. And I was like, what are we even doing? And I was getting legit mad at him. Like, I get it. You have free time and a home and I don't. Okay. So what of it? So then I get to like a breaking point and I'm like, this isn't sustainable. I'm going to have to give up custody of my son. I can't live like this. I'm going to physically die. And he's once again like sending me pictures of his shed. And I'm like, okay, you know what? Stop sending me pictures of your shed. And he's like, well, I thought it would cheer you up if I sent you pictures of your workshop that I cleared out for you. What? So we got to talking and I did take a call from him.
What?
And it turns out that he said that he'd never been interested in a parent because he was letting me know that, like, this is something he is now considering. It's, because obviously I have a kid. And so being a step parent is now all of a sudden on the table for him. And that he never thought he was going to be in another relationship. But, like, we're freaking building a life together. I didn't know. Yeah, so anyway, he's building me a California king-size sleigh bed, and we're going to put Robin in karate and ballet lessons. Just rescue a bunch of animals and moss. Probably a lot of moss. And we're going to live happily ever after. Apparently we started 6 months ago, but nobody told me.
All right. Well, I love how the story ended.
I know, that's a nice little happy ending right there. I hope that everything works out for
Yeah,
her.
for sure.
That
What
sounds
is this
pretty
user?
fun. Oh yeah, so the user is ladybomb.com.
Thank you.
Okay, so the prompt on this one is, can you
Okay,
be paying
Jesus,
the bill at the
it's
last
like really
sum?
annoying when you say that you're not going to order drinks because you can turn the water into wine, but then they end up charging us for the wine anyway. So you do have to put your card in. I don't know why you think that will work. It doesn't work every time. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you so much. Just split, please. What? Okay. They have a 2-card minimum. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put it all on. Do you have Bible Pay? Okay, I'm gonna put it all on my card and then have you all Bible Pay me, okay? Okay. Yeah, okay, we'll just do my card, please. Thank you. Thank you. No, not yet. I don't know how much I'm tipping. Seriously though, Jesus, it like causes like a 10-minute like fucking situation every time you do this. And I don't want to like piss you off or anything. And like obviously I respect what you're doing, but like they are going to charge us. Just because you make it yourself doesn't mean they're not going to charge us. It's like a bottle fee. It's fine. It's just like you can't get drunk for free.
Okay, so I wasn't quite sure what was I wasn't quite sure what was happening originally. Okay, so he's like at the Last Supper, and Jesus is there, and Jesus is turning the water into wine, but they still have to pay for the wine because you can't drink for free.
Yeah.
Kind of, yeah,
Bible pay.
Bible pay.
That was funny. Okay. All right, next.
4 things you didn't know about your tape measure.
Tape measure.
Number 1,
Okay.
there's a number on the back or the side of your tape measure. In this case, it's 3.5 inches. That is exactly how big the tape measure is. If you
That
have to
one
do
I
an
knew.
inside
guy
measurement,
is
instead of bending
weirdly
your tape and
attractive.
getting an approximate measurement,
'cause he's
you're
holding
able
tools.
to pull to the top and then use the dimensions of your tape measure. This little
Alright.
hole on the end of the tape measure actually serves a purpose. It's meant to hook a nail or a screw. Say you have to get a measurement and you're by yourself and you don't want to have to walk over and cross-reference, you can put in a nail or a screw, hook the tape measure through there and get your measurement. Another thing that hole at the end of your tape measure will do is hook a screw or a nail so that you can scribe a perfect radius.
What?
The slop at the end of a tape measure is not a
That's
design
cool.
flaw. It's actually like that on purpose. The first inch of a tape measure is not a true 1 inch.
Yeah.
It's actually a 16th shy because the metal end of a tape measure is a 16th of an inch. If you're doing an inside measurement and you want to butt that piece of metal, it's taking that into account and not throwing off your measurement. But if you want to do an outside measurement and you want it to pull, that 16th is now freed up so you can get that true measurement.
Wow.
So yeah, this guy is weirdly attractive. He's not like super good looking, but I think his voice, his body, the scruff works for him.
We're watching a video about tape measures and Lamont is talking about if this guy is attractive or not.
He's just weirdly attractive. Like like I don't know. It's not like a like lustful attraction. It's more like a I don't know. What would you call
For me,
that?
it's the fact that he's wearing Vans.
Maybe.
But anyway, back to the tape measuring thing. This was very useful and I enjoy it because I didn't know the last two, whereas like you can use it to make like a circle or a curve, and then that little piece moves on purpose because it's a 16th of an inch. This is gonna change my game. RE making
Hey.
things.
Hey. I'm not a person that likes to make things. I'm so lazy. I'm like, can we just buy it?
Oh my goodness.
I
Lord.
know. I spend way more money than I probably should.
Oh my goodness. So do I, but that's on materials to make things. Okay, so that was a preview to my TikTok algorithm. I guess it was a little different. So I think because I'm on my computer and not on my phone, it didn't show everything that I usually see because
Yeah, I think there might be 2 different algorithms.
maybe there are.
It knows you on your phone and then it knows you on your computer. Or it's trying to get to know you on your computer.
All
know,
right.
In your computer.
Being silly over here. All right. So thank you for joining us for this. If you're listening or watching our podcast, let's get back to the topic. If you are turning into our shorts, make sure you check out the link to the full episode that this is from. It's a very great episode. I'm enjoying it, so I'm excited to get back to it. Shall we go?
Let's go.
All right.
And we're back. So, why do people, or why would anyone want to seek out psychic services?
Well, I would have to say that it sort of depends on what kind of psychic services. For example, when I do past life readings, the main reason is we see a person will see these patterns and proclivities that are causing them difficulties, and there's no logical or obvious cause in this life. Lots of times it's just like carried in from another life or even like ancestral or generational psychic DNA, and that can be shifted. So that's one reason, is to help clear old patterns and stuck energies so that they can level up or move forward. Another reason could be that, well, life changes and decisions and all that will seek people to try to get that clarity where they're not quite sure what their path forward is, or they've had like repeating difficulties and they know kind of like why, how can they, it's all about, usually people are ideally seeking some sort of growth, ideally spiritual or psychological growth, and sometimes, it's just physical concerns and all that. And it's just like human nature to want to tap in and maybe get a clue to give one insight, so it's all those kinds of reasons of like just trying to dip in and get a little knowledge somehow.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. That makes sense. Because Leigh and I, this is what our podcast is all about. It's all about personal growth, exploring, being okay with certain feelings, working through those feelings. So I can totally see why someone would want to seek out that service if they're in a stage and that can help them. And again, I think that goes back to my point, like there's more than one way to show up in this world.
And you bring up indirectly a point that's so important, and that is self-compassion and radical self-acceptance for where you are now. Like, we're all just these little humans and we have this mountain to climb, and it is our duty to climb this mountain, not to avoid the mountain. It's not about that. And
I love that. It is our duty to climb the mountain.
I mean,
not
that's
to
why we're here.
avoid
It's like
the
honing
mountain.
and shaping a sword by fire, I mean, it's like we're not okay. So here's what it boils down to. In this society, there's this underlying little thing that you should just be happy, and if you're not happy, there's something wrong. Well, who said we're supposed to be happy all the time?
Agreed.
It's a wheel, it's a cycle. That's just how it goes. And how do you handle the dark side of the cycle? How do you handle the cold of winter, the darkness of unknowing? How do you handle that? And a lot of this has to do with this certain type of split where heaven's up here, spirituality's up here, when really it is, and it's in here and down here. And the
Agreed.
more we weave that, like that's what I do in the archetypal embodiment workshops, where I deal with the trauma and stuck energy that gets stuck in our bodies, literally. Like, we make sounds and humming from these places and do movements and breathing into it. And as we visualize and energetically intend, it's a process, but there's always some sort of psychic puking and crying and all that has to happen, because it just goes back to, we aren't allowed to be in this society as much, like if you see a child and they have something happen, they just cry and they feel it and they go on, ideally, if they're not told to shut up, sit still and be quiet. But lots of times we are, and that literally energy just gets stuck because it just can't flow through. And of course, there are, destructive and constructive ways of expressing that energy, but we have all sorts of things in place that keep that stuck. And it's just like woven in. I will go so far as to say we have a shame-based culture. And that's
Yeah.
where all the problem is. And we all have it on some level or another, some great and some small, but it's all about how do we have that radical self-compassion and self-acceptance within. And at the same time, yes, I might have had a victimizing experience, but I'm not a victim. I was for X. It's like owning it all, each stage, but not being stuck in one, but at the same time, giving yourself time to go through it. It's really all about this balance.
Right.
It's,
right.
like I said, it's not easy, and I don't mean to sound like platitudes. It's like, oh, you just work through it. Yeah, get to know thyself along the way, and good luck with it. It can be a lifelong thing sometimes, that healing.
Yeah.
So earlier I had said there's different ways of walking through the world, and you had mentioned that you do like with trauma, like inside the body and the trauma barf, right? And so I'm a psychology student,
Mhm.
and I'm studying to get my marriage and family therapist license, and also become a licensed professional clinical counselor. So that's called an LPCC. Just I'm doing the long version for people that may not know. And when you do trauma work, we like theoretical models believe that trauma lives in the body. It
Absolutely.
resides in the body. So when you said that, that resonated as true. And so it's just two different ways of understanding it, through a psychic way and through a psychological way.
Right. And
Very
the
cool.
divisions are kind of human made. I mean, we have to work with them that way of separating mind and body and spirit to work with them. They're not really separate, only in our human awareness.
Right,
I
right.
really recommend the book to people. It's called The Body Keeps the Score by
Yes,
Bessel van der.
yes. It's totally recommended in our program. Like, well,
Yeah,
not my individual program, but like when you're doing like trauma work, they always recommend that book.
right. And, I've had to become as trauma informed as possible. It's like, what's bringing meaning to your life? A lot of the structures where we had meaning have crumbled a while back. And some of them, they were falsely used and made people feel trapped. So I'm all about that archetypal journey. Where are you? It's like the hero's journey, Joseph Campbell, but it happens over and over and over. It's not like one time. And then the heroine's journey is out there, which it's not about gender. The heroine's journey is the internal process, and the hero's journey is the outer process. So it's like lunar and solar. It's just there are these different sets of energies, and we use masculine and feminine as a symbol, but it's not about man and woman. It's about these different ways of describing these inner and outer journeys and how they weave together. And it's just so fascinating that I'm passionate about, what do you want the myth of your life to be? Ask yourself.
What do you want the myth of your life to be? I love that.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I like what you said. And what came up for me was framework, right? So us as humans, we're always in some kind of construct, right? Social, theoretical construct, framework. And how we view things and how we see things are like we have to decide if that's acceptable or not acceptable. And sometimes those decisions are made for us, like in our growing up Christian Leah, like a lot of those decisions are made for us, and then as adults we have to unpack that and decide like, is this the kind of framework I want in my life, or is this not, or is this a better framework, or how do I marry these two frameworks because both of these make sense or more, right?
So Lamont, I know that you were a little like unsure about when we talked about doing this episode, but what I'm hearing is a lot of similarities, which is very interesting to me to be watching this. Like on my screen, the videos go Lamont, me, Nicki. So I'm just been going the whole
All
time.
right, really? Because on mine it's you at top, I'm in the middle, then Nikki's at the bottom.
Yeah, so it just looks a little different, but I just think it's very funny, these similarities. So we talked a little bit on like why people would seek out, and then we got a little distracted, but that's okay. We learned some cool new stuff. What things would someone look for if they think that they may have any type of proclivity for, psychic things? I have a little story. I should have started with the story and then went into the question. Little story. In the Hawaiian culture, we have something called mana, which is your like spiritual power, right? It's like
Okay.
your essence. I don't know how to really explain it. And so I have like people used to joke, my mom used to joke with me like, oh, you have a sixth sense, like, oh, you just know things. I was like, okay, whatever, I don't care. And there was one time where I was working with I forgot some group. We were rebuilding a wall at a where were we rebuilding this? It was at a fish pond. And if you don't know anything about Hawaiian culture, a lot of our fish ponds were destroyed. And they were a big source of food and energy for the people of the islands, right? Because that's where like fish would go in to live, and then the small ones would go out, the big ones would stay in, and they would keep them like you would in like a regular backyard pond. And they'd have food, and they would grow other things around the ponds. So it was like a very big hub of food, which is energy. And so I was helping them build the wall on this area. And the uncle that was helping after like maybe like 15-20 minutes, he goes, "Did you know every single rock that you've handed me has been perfect?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Every single rock has fit into the spot perfectly. I haven't had to move it around. I haven't had to, put it to the side and grab another one." And I was like, "Oh, okay, like big deal. What are you talking about?" And he goes, "In the Hawaiian culture, like we build these walls. We don't force the rocks together. If they want to be together, they'll go together. They're supposed to be together. They have to
Love that.
match." And so he's just like, "You have a very strong mana about this." And then we left it at that because they called us to go do other stuff. But that has stuck with me
That's a
a
nice
little bit.
story.
Yeah.
I like that story.
So it stuck with me a little bit. So back to the question. If someone thinks that they may have any type of proclivity for the psychic realm, what types of things should they look for and or do?
So what areas do you feel the force is strong with you? Because like the force is strong with you with the picking out the rocks. So it's number one, we are all different. And that's my problem with a lot of structured religions is that they sort of, there's this underlying, everybody should be the same.
Yeah.
And so everything that I said before, I feel wasn't a distraction because it does lead to all the things that make people need psychic assistance or feel that there's something more.
Right.
It's all from that root of the shame-based culture, and everything we talked about weaves right into it. And that weaving is what you'll find is like everything weaves together if we allow it, if we remove that fear and the really things that we were told that are designed to control us. So back to the question. Would lots of times by being completely honest with what you're drawn to, what makes you feel magical, mystical, interested, enthusiastic in ways you can't explain, may not be obvious, but there's usually a kernel of something where your soul's trying to speak to you, and so it's just different for everybody, but usually it's just those little nudges and little hints of being drawn towards something and having more synchronicities happen. And usually the more you start to remove the things that are erroneous ways of thinking, the more that'll start to happen. The more that will start to happen because it is part of our birthright, really, to have more than one level of perception. It is.
I love that. It's part of our birthright to
Yeah.
have more than one level of perception.
Yeah, and so that's why I get very personally offended when people suggest that I'm evil, which of course has happened to me throughout my whole life. I mean, it's such a stupid stereotype that I can't help it. I got big black hair, I mean, it's dumb, right? And especially when all I really want to do is to help people, because I've gone through a lot of pain from religious trauma and other types of, ostracization. And just me being myself when I was a little kid, I didn't know, and it was because it's like, oh, you refused the cage. You're questioning. And that's how I came in here. I came in here to be sort of like, I'll be the weird one paving the way for the future generations. That's what I'm here for. I mean, it's like, even though I've been disowned by parts of my family because, I'm the proud mother of my transgender son, and it's no thing to me. Never was. It's just a beautiful soul, happier now, And so it's all about allowing the things that are good, but might be called bad, letting them be online as good and empowering, and just letting everyone express their light and own the shadow. Don't try to get rid of it, but give it a new job. It doesn't get the driver's seat. You sit it to the side and say, I understand. You tried to help me. Thank you. Stay in your lane.
I love that. I love that. I love that.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us today.
I really enjoyed talking with you both.
Yes, thank you. I think I know I've learned a lot. I think Lamont has some more thinking to do, although he looks pretty happy. He looks chipper right now, which is good, which is good. A happy Lamont is a happy life, right? That's how it goes.
I would agree. Now, if I can get Al on board, that's a bad joke. I'm sorry.
So if someone wanted to get a hold of you to either invite you on their podcast or to speak more on things or get a reading or anything, where can someone find you?
So my website is www.tarotwithtatiara.com. I would suggest going to my link tree to really, it has the contact and see everything I'm on about. And my handle everywhere is just Tarot with Tatiara. So I'm easy to find on Linktree, Facebook, Instagram, and I do online appointments. I do all sorts of in-person events. I'm, not traveling, but I'm in Pittsburgh, but I do everything online that can be done. And, you can just look at the link tree and see if you really want to know what I'm really on about. So.
All right.
Of course,
Nicki-
that will be linked. Sorry, I'm just gonna throw that in there.
I'm sorry.
I'm gonna say this every single time. Everything's linked. Check out the description. Continue, Lamont.
All right. Nicki, is there anything you're currently working on that you would like to share with us?
Well, I've had like a couple of essays published, and the one I'm getting done now is in a book called The Magical Child. And it's where children who didn't quite fit in their families, how do their story of how the parents did or didn't handle that, as well as like a handbook for future generations, but it's several essays, and mine's going to be one of them, talking about my first past life memories and how my family just loved that. So yeah, that'll be The Magical Child by Oberon Zell.
That's exciting.
Yeah, I like writing stuff.
All right. And finally, to just wrap everything up, is there anything that you would like to share from your heart? It doesn't have to be about what we're talking about. It can be anything that you want to share with people, just to kind of leave us on a good trajectory or message today.
Yes. And from my heart, you are enough. You don't have to try to get to enough. You have nothing to prove. Because you're here, you're worthy and valuable.
I love that. Thank you so much, Nicki, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. We might have to have you back. We might have
probably.
Please. I would love
that. So yeah, thank you guys for listening and or watching. And I guess we'll see you next time. Bye.
Today's life lesson is knowledge is the key to growth. Kofi Annan once said, knowledge is power. Information is liberating. Education is the premise of progress in every society, in every family. I'm telling you, knowledge is the key to growth. Yes, societal growth. Yes, interpersonal growth. What will you be open to learning today? What knowledge will you obtain? And that is today's life lesson.